Hello, everyone, and welcome to the SDL, our newest division, but kind of an old division. This is the Unstoppable division. For the draft, will be joining me Kingfisher and Ruquias. And there they both are, looking so cute over here. How we doing, Fisher?
Doing incredible. Really excited to get the Unstoppable division started. First year of it. Really excited to see how it turns out.
And a new person to our desk segment here is Raquaz. How you feeling, Raquaz?
Pretty okay. I think it's going to be an interesting draft for sure.
Good. I'm glad you're feeling that way because we have 8 really cool teams. You've seen their names before behind a couple other casters. They will be up on the screen here in 1 second, and there they are. You'll see 2 new names here. We got Storm Callers as well as Seismic Shockwaves in a different positions than the other 2 drafts or other 3 drafts, but second pick Shockwaves. Let's go ahead and go to Fisher here first. What are we thinking as far as draft goes? What do we prioritize? What are we looking for?
It's kind of a toss-up every year, I think, especially when the meta's been kind of flipped on its head as it has recently. A lot of big game updates, but I think always a safe bet. Junglers going early, supports going early. I think it happens in most years, but it's a smart way to go. Those 2 roles, I think, impact the game a lot more than any others do right now.
I would totally agree with you that those are the big impact roles. Versatile players that can play multiple roles, I think, as well, go pretty high up there. So good points from you there, Kingfisher. Looks like you're a little bit taller than me on the desk right now. I'll go ahead and make myself feel a bit taller. There you go. You see, now we're...
Gotcha.
You're such a tall guy, Kingfisher. But let's go ahead and go to Raquaz for one question for you real quick. I see that we have 8 big teams here. Out of these 8 teams, which of these teams do you think has the best name right now? I think you're going to give Noob a little bit of a ego push here.
The best name?
Yeah.
I mean, as a jungle main, it's got to go with Eclipse.
Eclipse is a great ultimate. Switching over to our wonderful goddess, Awelix, this season makes the most sense for her. Cool little picture there with, not Tusky. What's the name of the dog that she rides on?
Suku.
Suku, that's it. Really, yeah, there's my analyst right there. That's it. All right. Well, that being said, I think we can go ahead and introduce you to our Wild Inferno captain. This season for our Unstoppable draft, the captain of Wild Inferno will be on the back of this jersey, Stoops. Stoops, a historic player in the SDL, one of our fortunate captains for the season for Unstoppable, will be going for their first pick right here, and we will see it. First pick in the Unstoppable draft will be Slim the Rebel. Let's go, Slim. Welcome back to the game, baby. How are we feeling about this, Kingfisher?
Really good to see Slim back up in the mighty first pick overall. If you've been following the SDL for any amount of time, you probably know Slim the Rebel, good community member, just like Stoops, and a really good player as well. A little bit surprised that Stoops elected to go mid first, and I know that's one of their preferred roles, but with that pick of Slim the Rebel probably tells me that Stoops looking to go into the support, maybe be more of an in-game shot caller than they would be allowed to be in that mid lane.
And a good pick that is. I agree with you, Kingfisher, on that. A little unusual mid pick. But we'll move on to our second captain here with Seismic Shockwaves, a new name for a new team. And King of Darkness is their captain this season. Going for their number 1 pick will be Leor. And Kingfisher, right back over to you.
Another kind of new name to the SDL, first one we see here today, but up alongside King of Darkness, a really, really strong support player in their own right. Hasn't found a ton of success postseason, probably trying to remedy that this year, and goes with another mid main. Leor, just like Slim, plays a mid lane, really heavy on kills, and plays an insanely large amount of gods. The Morrigan, Eset, Scylla, Thoth, just anything you can think of, they can play in that mid lane. A really strong, really versatile pick there.
Darkroom is next on the table. As you can see, the table literally changed colors here. Another name that we know from, not exactly a captain, but from an old challenger team would be Anon Steve. And we got to go ahead and get this pick in here soon because we do know her name from previous seasons, as well as especially last season on a wonderful looking, I believe, Immortal team that Anime CEO was running. It's going to be Hilm Lena.
It is going to be Lana up next. Really strong pick. Kind of surprised that Lana's still available in the Unstoppable draft. Definitely one of the most slept on supports in this league. Plays a really good variety of gods and a lot of healers as well. It feels like that was kind of one of the big talks around Season 2 of the SDL, just how much healers were impacting the game. Steve does a really smart choice here. Grabs a support that I'm assuming Steve's going to be an ADC, so a strong lane mate with him, and one that can play nearly all the meta gods and goddesses you would need.
It's one of those versatile picks that you would we talked about before this draft even started, was you want some picks like Lana that will allow for there to be a lot of choices for where she goes. So with that being said, we move on to Rayquaz's favorite name here, which is Eclipse, representing the Oweelix. Captain for them will be T-Rib this season, Riblet, also known as. And we have to go ahead and think about this pick here a little bit for them, as this might be, we talked about supports being focuses and junglers being focuses. I think in this situation, you're going to be very pleased that T-Rib has gone for a giant dog TTV.
Very nice. Plays both of those roles. Was seen a lot as a jungler last year on Sunbreakers. Obviously, kind of one of the big parts in them winning the championship, bringing home the dynasty. I believe prefers support as a main role though, so I'd expect to see Giant Dog over there. I think, just if memory serves, has an insanely strong Atlas. A Fenrir as well, we saw time and time again in the jungle that could really flex over to that duo lane. Gonna bring kind of the winning mentality to that team already. A great first pick.
Really good first pick. I would agree with you entirely there. Another versatile player because of the jungle support, and it's the two roles that you named even before this started. So for our Stormcallers captain, we will see representing the Chuck as the god. I think we have probably a voice line at the end of this stream. You'll be able to stick around and hear one of Nublet's favorite lines from Chuck. Zapsy will be representing the team of Stormcallers, and for their first pick this season, it will be KJ the Great.
Another good pick and another couple of new faces to the SDL. I don't believe we had either of these players in our previous seasons, but sticking around with the theme, it's a solo laner, one that plays Chalk as well. KJ plays pretty much all the bully solo laners you could think of. Chalk, Hercules, the Odin, which I think has really picked up in Steam lately. It's not too common that we see a solo pick this high up in the draft, but picking a really strong one here that can certainly contend with anyone else in the league. Another pretty strong draft pick. I've really been impressed with all of them so far.
Has been a really strong draft so far, especially with some of these big names from previous seasons and some new names. Kingslayers are our next pick. Our table looked very nice here with a beautiful little kind of yellowish look. Birder Pluto representing the team over here this season for Unstoppable. Got to go ahead and start thinking about what they're going to pick. They're on the clock right now. Birder Pluto, birds like us. You know, we got Kingfisher here, or Rayquaz here. We got Phoenix here. This is just another bird on the table, and Birder Pluto will go ahead and choose Conquistador.
Two great names. Gotta love the bird name as well. On
Yeah.
Kingslayers, you know, king and a bird, Kingfisher. Gotta love it. It has to be my favorite team already. But Conquistador, just like KJ the Great, another really, really strong solo laner. Play some really kind of off-meta picks in that solo too, so it should be really interesting seeing how they can combine with Bird of Pluto and the rest of the players who will join the squad to really kind of make those god compositions, in my mind, really stand out among this division.
First time we're saying this Unstoppable name, and it's already some really strong picks coming out for this debut season of this name. Fuego Maego is the captain here for this team. We know Fuego Maego because of the previous Challenger season, played in the jungle for, actually, funny enough, my team. Beforehand, I believe it was Seal's team or some other LC's team, and now it was mine at the end of the season. Cool to see him here at this point on this team. Gonna draft some really strong players, and the first pick for Fuego Maego and Flourish will be the best of all 16. And Rayquaz, how do we feel about this pick?
Well, it's yet another strong solo laner who also seems to be capable as a support. And if I don't remember wrongly, Fuego Maego is a carry, which means we have a strong dual lane early on in the picks.
Yeah, Fuego Maego is going to go ahead and prompt for his own support. A little bit, what do you call that? A little bit selfish of him, wouldn't you think? You know, I'm going to go ahead and take this guy and take my support to myself, not picking a jungler for his mid. We'll leave that until later. But good pick there either way. Strong support showing in the scouting grounds in some of our divine matches. Probably caught Fuego's eyes. And we will see our next pick on the screen, Sunbreakers with Cactus Arms, another well-known name throughout our community. I believe also a champion, if I am correct, Kingfisher, on that. Divine champion? Or was that a Giant Dog TV?
No, that was Giant Dog. I don't believe Cactus Arms.
I don't think
last year.
My bad. Hey, I'm sorry, but you will be a TMG in this year, Cactus Arms, because your first pick is one of the best picks as of yet. Will be Cap'n Chris Yo.
Well, we seem to be on a streak of solos here, because here we have Captain Crisio, a carry and solo.
Yeah, and a really strong pick. I would agree with you there. They seem to be going a little bit off the script that Kingfisher and I did make for them, which is going for junglers and only supports, but going a little bit more for these different types of picks, some carries, some solos, as you just said, solo, another good strong pick. And we will stick it here with Cactus Arms, not the champion from last season that I just made the mistake with, but possibly a champion from this season, because another strong pick will be coming out from Cactus Arm for the number 9 spot on your screen. Far right hand side will be Get That Critter.
Yeah, a strong mage option, something we haven't seen picked so far. Strong Skilla, gonna, well, become a monster if they aren't already.
Yeah, and hopefully they do become a monster, and it might be in multiple different lanes. Seems like another versatile player in Get That Critter could possibly play a couple different roles. Good analysis there from our friend Raquaz to see the Scylla pick there, because that monster has to come out from this team, as I have just pumped them up to nonetheless to be champions this season in this draft alone. So we will move back on Snake Draft here. So you see it goes around the corner and comes right back here to Flourish. Fuego Maego will have another pick up here for them. Once again, my old teammate or my old team member will be ready here to select a big pick in the 10th spot, which will be Absolury.
Absolury, a really strong mid. By their own confession, kind of likes to play those, I don't know what you call them, facilitating mages. Plays a lot of healers. The Ra, the Aphrodite, the Hel, the Chang'e. Obviously hoping they can play a lot more in that pocket, but I think I talked about it with Lana's support pick, playing healers. You love it in that meta, getting yourself a mid that can really pilot those picks, hopefully to a great degree in that lane, combined with Best of All and Fuego Maego. It's already an insanely strong top 3 locked in for Flourish.
All right, well, now you're locking in for Flourish. I'm locking in for Sunbreakers, and I want to redo my thing. Was the Season 2 champion Cactus Arms? I was just corrected by Anthony, the Overlord caster, to correct this situation. And we will be moving on to Bird of Pluto on the Kingslayers, looking to get that 11th pick in. Picked Conquistador in the first round, looking to round out a little bit more probably of not only the dual lane, but the maybe even the jungle here a little bit more often. He's going to have to probably get a little more versatility into his picks. And that pick will be kinda average.
Oh, that's insulting. Hopefully they're more than
Average.
just average. I believe another jungle man, so love to call that. And before I go further, sorry, Cactus Arms, I got names confused. Not trying to take that Season 1 title away from you, but a very strong jungler. Not a ton of comp experience compared to the other players, so might be something to look for. I just expect, especially in these lower drafts, maybe some players newer to comp, but hopefully that just brings new mindsets, new strategies, new picks. I know likes of Loki, so anything interesting like that in the jungle, I'm always going to be a big fan of.
And I hope you're a big fan of it, because you pumped up as being above average, and I think that's exactly what they're going to do. I did announce you kind of average. I kind of was trying to meet your level of nameage here. But we will be moving on to Zapsy. And with their 12th pick, they're going to go ahead and start looking for a little bit of versatility as well. In these middle picks, these second and third picks for every single one of these teams, they want to go ahead and make sure to fill in some of their stronger slots. And so, as Kingfisher said, that's your support and your junglers, and then probably moves on to your carries and your mids. But I think Zapsy is ready for this pick right here in the number 12 spot. We'll be going a very difficult name to say, and we'll probably end up calling exactly what I'm about to say is Chin Chin.
I think that's the best possible pronunciation we could hope for on that one. Don't worry, we'll get it much more down pack as the season goes on. But another strong player, and this entire Stormcolors squad so far, entirely new to the SDL. Kind of hard to get a litmus test on where they're going to end up. We'll play solo in mid lane. Again, light kind of average, not a ton of comp experience, but a very good ranked player. I mean, plays similar style on Gods as well as KJ in that off solo role, so already a lot of interesting things this Stormcolor squad is going to be able to do, kind of move around their players to fit their need. So far, really versatile team there from Zapsy.
Versatile is what you need, and we've said it a lot of times this stream. Maybe we'll stop saying it, maybe we'll keep saying it, because it's very strong, especially when you're in the unstoppable division. You need to be able to be ready to make a move in an instance and make the best of it. We're moving on here to Riblet or T-Rib, as we can call him sometimes. 13th pick on our screen here, and it will be Eclipse again. We're back to Rayquaz's favorite team name here. And for that 13th pick, Riblet will be going in for a name I've seen a lot of, Jaeger.
Another strong pick and a solo laner as well, kind of keeping the theme going. We've seen a couple of solos already this draft. And again, with Giant Dog locked in there, we said it before, Giant Dog plays jungle and they play support. So no matter what, Giant Dog is either going to be teaming up with Jaeger there, destroying the solo lane, or just wreaking havoc on the front line. Late game, either way, get two really good picks, two really smart picks. So already Eclipse putting together a more maybe game IQ focused squad, and already getting the tanks out of the way I think is a great move. Really allows you to focus in on those players with higher skill ceilings later in the draft.
We're moving on to that later in the draft here. We're still in the second round, swerving back around here to the 14th pick. We'll be seeing exactly what Anon Steve will be going for, and this will be the Immortal Dark Omen captain. Anon Steve right here looking to see if he can possibly round out a bit more of his draft after getting Lana in the first round. We just talked about a Giant Dog TTV on the last team. Don't want to confuse yourself here. This is a different Giant. This will be Giant DMS.
Yes, and for those who are unaware, Giant seems to be great friends with Steve from last season, and with Giant being a jungle, it seems that Lana, Giant, and Steve will be pretty deadly in the mid lane together.
I think deadly is the right to say here. I think when I saw this coming in as the next pick, I was like, oh man, here we go again. This is just Steve picking up some of his best friends, as well as some of the people that he thinks can play these roles the best. And that team is looking really strong as long as they can keep that coordination up that they did in the previous seasons. Moving on though, we got Seismic Shockwaves going for our friend King of Darkness, or KOD as I like to call him sometimes. Great friend of ours here at the SDL. Looking at his 15th pick after picking Lior, will go for the Crusader. 5-5-5. Don't forget, there's three of them. There's 3 5s.
Really confusing, about 2-5 short of just being the absolute dream for a username, but another good pick. And wouldn't you know it, it's another solo laner. Turns out we were wrong. Solo is the lane to go with, and plays a lot of magical solo laners as well. Things like the Cthulhu, the Baron Samedi, Artio, just those kind of bruiser magical picks, which really open a team comp up. So hard to ban out against, really hard to kind of shift against also. Combine that with King of Darkness on the front line, should be a deadly combination there for the Shockwaves.
Deadly it is, and Shockwaves looking pretty strong, and maybe they can get a couple more really strong picks. We'll see them here in a couple of seconds after we go ahead and move on here to Wild Inferno, representing Pele. I don't think we talked about that. Pele, one of the other cool junglers in the game, along there with a Wheelix. We're gonna go ahead and see what Stoomps is cooking up here. It's been a long time since we've been able to say Stoomps' name, because this is a snake draft, which means 16th pick all the way back over to them. In the 16th pick, though, another soul laner is going to be coming out for you right here, Kingfisher. A1 will be going the way of Wild Inferno.
Would never guessed it's another solo laner. and it's sometimes hard to judge these drafts with all the new people flowing into the league, but even when you take that out of account, at pick 16, A1, an absolute steal, had a strong performance last year, a really good solo laner, very aggressive in lanes. I think like Crusader plays a decent bit of magical picks. And I think we've already theorized we think Stoomps is going to be going into the support role, so picking themselves up another good, aggressive teammate on that front line, going to be making so much space for Slim in the back to really do what they need to. A very, very smart pick here from Stoomps.
And we're going to keep Stoomps right on that clock right now, because they have to turn right back around to this 17th pick and think really hard, really quickly about what they're going to go with. Already have a soul laner, already have a mid laner, and I believe that Stoomps might be putting themselves into the jungle here this season. I don't know though, because we have seen them in the support role in the past, but we do now know that 17th pick, and I'm sorry if I butcher your name pronunciation here. I'm going to try my best, but it's going to be Carlo.
Yes, not gonna try and disagree with you on the pronunciation there, but Carlo is a carry.
There you go. and it could be a really strong carry at that because we have Slim the Rebel in mid already and A1 in the solo lane, which means you're going to be rounding out a pretty strong team here. I think in the scouting games, I might have seen Carlo play a little bit of Rama, I believe, in the duo lane. And if I can do anything by their picture, it's going to be all about the Fatalis picks up, because I think their picture actually is the old Fatalis. Asyn Fatalis, that is. All right, moving back around here to Seismic Shockwaves. Number 18 pick is ready to be into their bag here in a couple of seconds. Let's talk a little bit about King of Darkness, though. Already kind of rounding out their team, really strong here with Lior and Crusader. I think that's exactly what Kingfisher said, but we're not going to move too far away from Kingfisher here because the next pick is Simon Says Smite.
I mean, if Simon Says and you gotta play Smite and another jungler pick, absolutely love to see it with the rest of the Seismic Shockwaves that have already been locked in. And play some annoying picks to go up against as an enemy player. The Arachne, the Erlong Shen, the Thanatos. Basically, you think of any god in Smite you don't want to play against, Simon Says is gonna play it. Gonna have to be a lot of target bans operated over there towards that team, and another new player to the SDL. Glad to see all the new faces rolling in.
That's a big thing to say is, yes, there are a lot of new names here, and you are more than welcome into the SDL. As you can see, you're being drafted here, and that's a really cool sign, is we have 4 divisions, and you are here playing in one of them this season. Your team, you had a captain that looked at you and said, you're the pick that we want. And speaking of picks that you want, we have Steve here again with that beautiful jersey. Speaking of jerseys, we can do it real quick in the middle, do a little ad. After this stream ends, and after maybe a little bit more time, a couple more days, we're going to be go ahead and getting some information out about these jerseys in the future. And so if you're here in the stream right now, keep an eye on the SDL Discord, because you'll see an announcement from Nublet or Oath or one of the wonderful leaders we have in the community about these jerseys and how you can get one for yourself. But moving on, Dark Omen, Steve is going to go and make their 19th selection and their 3rd selection, and that will be Ecos.
Yeah, Ekios.
Ekios. There you go.
My bad. Another jungle main for Dark Omen? I mean, I junglers are good. I don't see why, but clearly Steve must see something I don't.
I think Steve sees, out of bound on the first 2 picks, I think that me and Fisher would agree this might be another situation of relevance and knowing the person, because I think this might relate back to some previous seasons and some previous friendships that Steve has made. So we call this, kind of funny enough in this league, a friend league. It's exactly what Sunbreakers is in Divine. They're one of the strongest teams in Divine as of right now, in my opinion. But we'll have the season to see, and that was exactly what we're going to see with these guys, and they're going to have to show exactly what friendship can bring to the table. And that's might be something that they do end up doing here. But let's move on here to Eclipse, back to Rayquaz's favorite team name. I love saying that whenever it comes here, because it's cool whenever people are fans of teams. With the 20th pick, as well as the 3rd pick for Eclipse, and Riblet will be, hopefully doesn't do this in game, but Laggy Poo.
Yes, Laggy Poo, another jungler. Man, just getting most of the junglers here. Laggy Poo plays, well, Merc and Susano, among others, but doesn't really seem to play a Wheelix, which is a shame, as they're getting drafted for Eclipse.
Yeah, you got to DM him there after this draft and say, hey, can you go ahead and make sure to please play some Wheelix? I need to get some big pools out from you. All right, but moving on. Another big jungler pick here. We've seen, I think, 2 or 3 of them in a row now, filling out people's rosters with some of the stronger picks here now. So, Stormcallers, Zapsy on the table here. Gonna have to go ahead and round out their roster just a bit more with this big old 3rd pick. And that 3rd pick, it is very strong. Cushion for the Pushin'.
Another strong pick there in Cushion, and I could be incorrect, but I believe possibly a Masters player, so definitely going for those stronger players. Does play some of the positions already taken up in the team. ADC, Zapsy already plays mid as well, which I believe Chin as a mid main might be going over into solo, but with KJ the Great, leaves me a little bit confused about how the makeup of this team is going to come together role-wise. They don't have a support yet, they don't have a jungler yet, but what they do have is talent, and a lot of it.
You can flex talent around into different roles. I played this game. I started as a mid laner, and then I got moved to the jungle, and then I got moved to the solo, and I've been there since 7 years ago. So If you get moved into a different position during this draft, don't be upset about it because you're going to learn a lot during it and you might become a better player for it. You will become a better player for it. And these captains do know a good amount about the game. And there's always people in the community to help you. But moving on, we got King Slayers now. And this is another big pick. I know this name personally from a lot of those scouting grounds game. I think this person was there for the most scouting grounds game. Maybe up there with someone like Servente that you might, I don't know, we might see him later here in the future of this draft. But this pick is going to be Strife_AL.
Another strong pick and another jungler. We've really seen a lot of them lately. I think just like Cushion on Stormcallers, going to be interesting to see where they slot into this lineup. We already covered kind of average. Up at the 11th pick, a very capable jungler, a very farm-heavy jungler. But Strife does play both dual lane positions, plays ADC, plays support, and has an incredibly, not weird god pool, but interesting one in the duo lane. Plays Artemis, plays Neith, plays Izanami, can really do a lot of interesting things with this player in your lineup.
Flexing around a lot with the different types of gods that you can play. That's another big important thing that captains look for, and Brother Pluto must have seen that in Strife. But moving on here, we got Flourish representing Persephone. I kind of am trickling in the gods that these names represent as we go on. But yes, Persephone is what represents the Flourish name. Fuego My Ego is on the clock, and I think is about ready to go ahead and pick a big name here. And it's pretty easy to say, Timbo Twice.
Yes, Timbo Twice. A jungle and mid player. But don't take the twice for granted. It's actually a thrice because Timbo also goes in the carry.
So 3 roles for Timbo Twice, so we might as well go Timbo Thrice. That's exactly what Rayquaza is telling you to do right now. Go ahead and change that name, but let us know if you end up doing that, please, because we would like to know instead of calling you Timbo Twice. But Timbo Twice will join Fuego My Ego on Flourish with a pretty strong draft as of right now. We'll be moving on to our wonderful Season 2 champion, okay? We're going to get it right this time, Cactus. I'm sorry. There you go. Season 2 champion. Going to be looking, funny enough, I think for another support possibly right here, because Red Pepper is going to be picked for Sunbreakers.
I think you're right. Red Pepper did play support last year, although to be fair, I think they do prefer jungler, which is where I'd assume they're going to play this roster in. Cactus Arm's obviously a very, very capable support. I don't think Red Pepper is going to be able to take that away. And I pick, I think, a lot like Aowan from Wild Inferno, really kind of confusing that they're still here at this stage. An incredibly strong player, going to bring a lot to that roster. Winning energy as well. Did go into the playoffs last year, knows how to win, been in the league before. Another strong pick, aside a few players that haven't been here before. Maybe can sort of help step in there and bridge a gap to these players.
And I won't waste any more time with talking about this entire team because we have the 25th pick already ready for you. This is going to be a fun name to say on cast for our Team 2 casters. It's going to be Custer the Buster.
Absolutely love that, Custer. A player that's newer to comp, I believe, could be incorrect. So I think going to a really strong team here, it should be a great fit for them. Along picks like Cactus Arms, like Red Pepper that we just said, have played in this league, have played competitive, going to be really able to guide them, hopefully, to getting another championship there under the belt of Cactus. I believe plays ADC as well, so should be laning with the captain themselves there for the Sunbreakers. I believe one of the first teams to really round out their lineup with a ton of different role-playing players.
We talked about it, versatility, and this is it right here. We got really strong 5 members of this team already on Sunbreakers, but off of Sunbreakers, we can move right back over to Fuego My Ego, said his name not that long ago. And for Flourish, we're looking at the number 4 pick for their team, and it will be Jungle X Jungle. Jimmy. Jungle X Jungle, like a Jungle X Jimmy.
Well, you can never guess what role they play. Sure enough, it's the jungle. Plays jungle, and I believe solo lane as well, which makes me question a little bit where they're going to fit into this roster. Best of all, plays solo. Timbo, obviously, playing in the jungle. They don't have a support yet, but Jimmy, a very versatile player, has a lot of really interesting picks in that lane as well. Plays stuff like the Ymir, Mulan, Bakasura, a very, very diverse god pool, which tells me hopefully they're going to be able to do whatever Flourish needs them to do and find some playing time with that already stacked roster.
Speaking of versatile and really good, god pools, we'll move right back over where Strife is because we just said about Strife in the last round. But Kingslayers back on the clock again. We see Bird of Pluto, Caw, bird friend, ready to go here with the 27th pick of this draft. We are on the fourth round, going almost into our fifth round. Once we round about here, this pick will be Blight_Christ.
Are you supposed to? Never mind. Blight_Christ, a mid support who also seems capable in the jungle. Which makes perfect sense around this time in the draft as you're looking to get players capable in multiple lanes.
Yeah, and the versatility is what we have been saying this entire draft. It's like me and Dilo when we say PIMDOS in a game. It's just repeat. In this situation, it's always been about how many roles can you play? If you can play a lot of roles, you're on my team. And in this situation, it seems like Bird of Pluto and the Kingslayers have picked a lot of people that can play a lot of different roles as well as a lot of different gods. Blight_Christ. It looks like we also like underscores on Kingslayers because we have Blight_Christ and Strife_AL. I like to say the underscores because I think it adds like a little bit of a annotation to their name. But moving on from Bird of Pluto's Kingslayers, we have Stormcallers on the clock right now. And I won't waste any more time. We have another pretty hard name to say, but I will do my best. It's going to be Fasten Nay Dad Dolphin.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that's not correct. But to be fair, I don't know what the correct pronunciation is, so I'm not even gonna attempt it.
We'll reach out.
Absolutely, but another strong frontline player here for Stormcallers. We talked about KJ a lot when they got drafted there, up at spot number 5, and hopefully Stormcallers trying to get a player that can really match that energy all the way down at 28th. A great player should slide right into that support role. As I struggle to talk here, Stormcallers looking like a really strong roster, still in search of that jungler, I believe, though.
I think they are as well. Moving around to Eclipse now, representing Owelix, we got the 29th pick on their clock right now, the 4th pick of their team. Oh man, they have a really strong team right now, including a Giant Dog, TTV, Laggy Poo, and Jaeger. Looking to round up a little bit more here, and we'll go ahead and select in the 29th pick an easier name to say, the Sweaty Sacks.
Sweaty, the first backline player taken by Eclipse. All the others have been solo, support, and jungle. So I'd imagine can play either carry and mid. Does seem to prioritize carry a lot. Plays a lot of strong gods there. The Jingwei, the Rama, the Charybdis. About what you would expect, but hopefully a versatile player. They still need one more pick over at 36, and the ability to play both those backline roles really well is gonna kind of allow them an easier time drafting at a position where not many players are gonna be left.
Yeah, and this is when you start getting into the draft where you start getting to the point where you need to go ahead and round out your roster completely. You need to go ahead and make sure that you have filled all the spaces because this is your team. This is your team you're going into week 1 with, and you can't start trading or doing anything until around week 2, week 3 in this league. So get your team and make it strong. We're going back around here to Steve again for Dark Omen. Man, and I know this name a little bit because I saw them at a lot of Scouting Grounds games. Same as Strife. We said that before. In the 30th pick for Dark Omen will be iCode Ryoko.
Love those players to get into a lot of Scouting Grounds game, get involved, play solo and mid, I believe just like Ikio, so hard to tell so far where they're going to fit into this roster. Playing the same few roles, obviously Steve gonna have to do a little bit of auditioning there on their own team to figure out who gets what spot, but no matter what, Ryoko gonna slot in great. Also has a considerable amount of playtime on pretty much all the roles in the game, so one of the first really true utility players that's been taking this draft. We normally don't see that until the very last round when people are trying to get their subs, but Steve trying to get the best one out of the way first. I think a really, really good call there from the Dark Omen captain.
Dark Omen looking really good right now. A little bit like the friend group that's going to get back together and run this division if they can. Plus a little bit of new names. It's always nice to have. And speaking of new names, Seismic Shockwaves representing the wonderful old Geb can be seen on the clock right now. King of Darkness representing them. KOD looking for their next pick in the 31st spot will be Shadow Nexus.
I really like that username. It strikes me kind of similar to Custer over there for Sunbreakers. fourth round pick for them. Very similar, probably going to be going to the ADC, is a backliner, but with Lior picked at 2 that plays mid, I'd assume Shadow Nexus going to go to that duo lane, and just like Custer going to be along season support, King of Darkness. Shadow doesn't have a ton of comp experience, but being around that player, and a player full of new people to the SDL, should really thrive in that role. I'd look for them to come alive the further this season goes along. A very smart pick there by King of Darkness.
I think that it's a really smart play by some of these captains to be taking some really big and good chances on some of these newer names, because it's always safe to pick people that you know from previous seasons in SDL, but to pick new names in the SDL takes a lot of courage and can be something that can make a team really strong. And so really good choice here by King of Darkness. And speaking of not so new names and a little more safe pick here, we know this name because it has been a part of the SDL for quite a long time, a pretty old name. It will be SEAL Team 2.
Love seeing Seal up here on the draft. Gonna round out, I'd imagine, that starting 5 for the Wild Inferno squad. And I believe also probably going to be going to the jungle, which would push Stoomps back into support. They'll have to figure that out. Like Phoenix said earlier, Stoomps does play jungle as well, I believe. So kind of hard to imagine so far. But a great player, a player that's going to bring a calm energy, a player that's been there and done that before. All in all, a really strong pick that's going to help them just kind of get whatever they feel they need to going into the 5th round here.
Yeah, and going into this 5th round, will be the same person who just selected SEAL Team 2 will be selecting Squid 2 mid. I'm sorry, Newblet, I rushed you a little bit there, but you'll see it on the jersey right here in a second. But Squid 2 mid will be our pick in the 33rd spot for Stoomps.
I believe I said it with Jungle X Jimmy. You're not going to believe what role they play. That's right, it's another mid laner. Squid 2 mid. Primarily plays a mid lane. Might be a little bit tough to find playing time with Slim the Rebel there, obviously one of the best mids in this division, I think, but does play a lot of other roles as well. Plays a jungle, plays a solo. Not the left side of the map there, support or ADC, but should be able to kind of rotate those players as they feel they're needed on that other side. Might split playing time with SEAL Team 2. Like I said though, we'll have to wait until the season starts to really see who the starters are going to be there for Wild Inferno.
But looking like a strong team, like you just said. For sure. And speaking of strong teams, this next selection from Shockwaves, we just said their name, will be Dashi Wei.
Dashi Wei, if you're familiar with the SDL, it's another name you know. I believe they've competed in both seasons, yet to find too much postseason success, so hopefully that is going to be the difference maker. With Seismic Shockwaves looking to go all the way, plays solo, plays jungle, played mid. We talked about it around the end of round 4, I believe, when it was... I'm going to blank on the name, but one player got lucked in, plays every role. I think it was Ryoko. This is where you start to see those players that can do it all, that can just hop in there when somebody's out of town for a day and really perform whenever, wherever you need them. There aren't too many players that are going to be able to do that better than Dashi Wei is.
Yeah, and this is the round that you need to be picking it. We saw it a little bit earlier with Ayako Ryoko. Their earlier pick for a versatile player that can play a lot of different roles. This selection, though, makes sense here in the 34th pick to be a versatile overall player, can play multiple roles, can do everything for the team if need be. All right. Steve, Dark Omen, in this 35th pick, I need to go ahead and pump this up. I know it's the 35th pick. It's not the first pick of this draft, but this person is a cornerstone of our community, has been a part of it for a very long time, has clips on clips on clips that we have taken from them. It will be the Guan Yu specialist and a new mid laner, Troll Academy.
I've said it for a few players this draft. There should be no way Troll Academy is still available at pick 35. We've seen it last season, an incredibly talented solo laner, prefers a mid lane, and hopefully with 2 other players on this Dark Omen team that can split between solo and mid, should have an opportunity to do just that. An insanely mechanically strong player, a very high IQ Smite player as well, and a perfect round 5 pick to that draft. Can't believe they weren't picked up before that.
Cannot believe it. Kingfisher and I are in blasphemy. I don't know if Rick can really get to it that much because he doesn't know too much about Troll Academy. But as someone who is a veteran of Troll Academy fan fiction, I am that person that really fanfics over you, Troll Academy. Super excited to see you here on Dark Omen with Steve, Lana, Giant, Echoes, and Code Ryoko. All right, but moving on from that excitement, we got another exciting pick here from Eclipse Oelix, the representation of one of the best gods in the game, will be 36th pith Servente.
Already an extremely fun username to say there, and
Yep.
I think I talked about it last round with Sweaty. They needed a few backliners. Servente gonna round that out. I believe prefers mid, which would send Sweaty over to ADC. It'll be interesting to see how that lineup is gonna shake up, but it's kind of the theme in round 5. We see it season after season after season. A player that can play any role, and a player that's willing to play, got really active in scouting grounds. It's what you like to see as a captain, and I'm sure one of the reasons why Servente is taken here.
Yes, and I think there was also a lot of scouting gowns played by Servente, but we'll get off of Servente here. We'll go ahead and move on to some of our last picks. I think this is our 3 last picks of this draft. I think it's our 4 last picks, actually. This will be the 4th one right here. And everyone in the chat, please join me in welcoming to the SDL Unstoppable Division, Neptune Spartan, also known as NepNep.
Yes, rounding out the Stormcallers roster is NepNep. As far as I know, preferred mid, but nonetheless a great carry. And unlike what you'd think from the name Neptune, they play Poseidon.
Well, there you go. We can play Poseidon everywhere. You want to say something else real quick? Please go ahead.
No, just, a dangerous one at that, but with this stacked league, that should be common sense.
Yeah, and this is feeling pretty stacked right now. NepNep being picked right here is another situation where Kingfisher and I might look at each other and go, "Wait a second." NepNep was one of the better players last season, like really good. So really cool to see him here, though. 37th pick will be with here on the Stormcallers. Very strong team. Kingfisher said before, and I would agree with him. But let's move on here to Kingslayers as we round out the last 3 picks of this draft. The 38th pick for Bird of Pluto and the Kingslayers will be Fulti Azazel.
A really smart pick here, and I feel like I say that a lot, but in this situation, it is. A support main first. The only other supports they've taken in this draft are both backup roles by Strife and Blight, so getting a player in there that hopefully can assume that starting role in one they prefer, it's definitely a smart move there by Bird of Pluto. And beyond that, adaptable playstyle, and I believe one of the newest players we have in this division, so hopefully being around a roster of experienced players, I've said it before with some of the ADCs in this league, but even as a support should give you a ton of room to grow, and a ton of adaptability for the captains to work with. A really good pick to round out a really good roster there from Kingslayers.
Kingslayers might be making that vengeance run that the Sunbreakers made last season, running all 3 of the major divisions. This is the 4th newest actually official division. All of these players will be getting the same amount of gems and rewards as the other divisions. We're treating them as equals this season, which is something that were not able to do last season just because we didn't have enough players. We have grown so much and so many new names in this draft, so you guys will all be getting good amount of gems at the end of the season if you can prevail the winners, and I see Kingslayers as possibly one of those. Moving on, I would like to welcome to For Flourish and Fuego Maego, the 44th President of the United States of America, Obama.
That's right, Obama plays Smite. Good to see that here in the 39th pick, the 5th one overall there for Flourish. And I believe just like Kingslayers, should probably be the starting support for this team. They really haven't picked a support main yet, and Obama does fit into that kind of hole in the roster. A very aggressive player and a proven player, unlike Azazel, kind of new into comp, has played in leagues before and knows how to get it done, and should be a really strong player to round out the starting 5 there for Team Flourish.
Team Flourish has a president on its team looking very strong right here, and as you just said, great way to round it out with Obama X. All right, our final pick of the Unstoppable Draft, the 40th selection for the Sunbreakers. Cactus Arms, our previous champion, will be selecting Jack Tough.
Gotta hope Jack's tough there. Gotta get through all the chips on the shoulder from being the other football term, Mr. Irrelevant, for the Unstoppable Draft. The 40th pick taken, we saw it with Brock Purdy, does not mean a bad player at all. I believe a support main, so difficult to say how much playing time we'll get alongside Cactus Arms, who's a very capable support, but plays mid, plays ADC. We talked about Custer being a new player, so could see some rotational roles. And you'd love to see all these players from all these drafts get a little bit of playing time. Hopefully that's going to be the case here as Sunbreakers round out a strong roster.
And I will do it, folks. That is our current draft and the official draft for Unstoppable, previously known as Challenger. But let me go ahead and throw it back to you real quick, Kingfisher. How are we feeling here, and what do you kind of see being the future of Unstoppable as far as strengths and weaknesses go in these teams?
As far as the strength, the kind of thing that really pops out to me is versatility. A lot of these players and a lot of these teams, we really don't see too many that you can look at and say, okay, these are the concrete starting five, these are the roles they play, this is where they're going to go. A lot of them play a lot of different roles. Some teams have overlap. So as the season goes on, we're going to see a lot of mix and matching. And I'd expect also early in the season, some of these teams that you think are struggling are just going to be building better and stronger than ever. Whenever playoff times come, this division is going to be an absolute toss-up.
It is going to be a toss-up in the Unstoppable division. I think a lot of our divisions are going to be very close. And that's no different here at the Unstoppable division. I'm going to throw it to you real quick, because, man, your Wheelix team is looking pretty darn strong. Are you going to vote for them in your predictions?
Maybe.
Ooh, is there any other team you might be voting for here a little bit? You want to give us a little sneak peek of what you're thinking about?
No, I don't want to pick too many favorites.
Oh no, imagine if you were to pick your favorites, because I think that me and Kingfisher have kind of boosted up some teams here by accident, especially that far right team over there. Cactus Arm is looking pretty strong. But to move on from there, you will see our predictions tonight from the casters, or tomorrow morning whenever Anthony Malum gets the chance to go ahead and post those up. You'll get a ping from it, and it will say, here are your predictions for this season. You'll see our names on the far left-hand side, and then all the predictions from there on. Okay, let's go ahead and move on from there to talk a little bit about these jerseys. I'm not wearing one. I'm wearing strawberries right now. But the jerseys that have been on the screen this entire time will be available for purchase whenever Nublet or Oath or one of our leaderships post that into the Discord. It will be here sometime soon within the next couple of days. And then thirdly, but not lastly, and everything like that, will be follow us on Twitch. Subscribe if you'd like to. We love it. We love the support. Also, go ahead and follow us over and subscribe to us over on our YouTube, which is the same exact name as this Twitch, which is Smite Draft League. You can find all of the VODs for almost every single game that's been played. We try to get as many done as we can. For the regular season, though, you'll be seeing them there, as well as for the playoffs. They will also be on YouTube. But you also can find us here on Twitch all the time whenever we do games. We're trying to go ahead and do a little more live streaming for some of our games. With that being said, thank you very much for my co-casters here, Kingfisher, as well as Requaz. Thank you to my camera operator and production manager, would be our friend Nublet and the owner of the server. And we will see you in the regular season, because this finalizes the 4 divisions, and you can check those out on our Discord, because that's where all the rosters are. You can maybe find your own name on there right now, because this is the last division to draft. We will see you during the regular season in a couple of weeks.
I see